No, you were diagnosed in August of last year, so almost a year ago. Okay.
Right.
Okay. And then, so how would you say your actions online have evolved since your initial diagnosis? Because have your, yeah.
What do you mean?
Okay, like have you been? Because I mean, when I look at what you've been doing online, it seems like you started off with the videos and the blog, and then but you also started trying to do like a community forum. It looked like,
right.
So I wasn't really sure. It was the young Anna thing. So yeah, has it been? I don't know.
Oh, you're breaking up.
Can you describe like how? What?
You were breaking up.
Oh.
Are you asking how has my involvement in the MS community evolved online?
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, it definitely started off as just a means of, I wanted to share my experience. And it started as a small blog and some small videos on YouTube. And now it's becoming something much bigger for me. Just about, oops, screensaver went on there. Just about every other day I get at least 1 or 2 new friends on Facebook, or someone will email me. So I know what I'm writing is getting out there to people. So my main goal is still to help people understand what it's like living with MS and how to deal with it and stuff. But yeah, I've slowly been picking up new endeavors here and there that I've yet to completely pursue. But when you start getting involved, you start hearing about all these different issues, and that's how I started building the community, because you start talking to people who have issues, so then you all get together and talk. And we tried starting the Young MS thing. That didn't really go too well. But there's definitely different groups of people with MS who are not fully being addressed. So specifically people under the age of 25 with MS. Most websites and organizations, they're geared more towards older people, because typically people with MS are 40 and above. There are other issues that I'm interested in, such as if on my blog there's a link for msvietnam.org, which is an organization basically just trying to raise awareness that, hey, there are people outside the United States who have MS as well, and they're not getting help. So now I've kind of taken it as a personal mission to try to help raise awareness of all these different little things that people don't see. People might spend their time raising awareness about MS in general, but to me there's more detail that needs to be shown to the world, and that's something that I plan on doing soon, hopefully.
Would you say that the majority of your subscribers also have MS?
So far, that has been my experience. Maybe 1 or 2 people will say, oh yeah, my mom has MS, or my sister has MS, but for the most part, everybody I speak to seems to have MS themselves.
And is this your target audience, or are you also trying to... There's also, I think a large advocacy theme that I found in a lot of videos, where not necessarily from you, but like where people just also want to, in addition to like connecting with other people with MS, they also want to raise awareness about the disease to help like fund, like to get, I don't know, not necessarily like funding, but to push people to help, fund the cure, find a cure.
Right. I think for me, I don't typically write with a target audience in mind, consciously at least. If I had to say who my target audience would be, it would probably mostly be newly diagnosed patients, because for a lot of people, they're really scared when it happens. Most people who come to me and email me and talk to me about their situation usually talk about how scared they are about this or that. So I find myself trying to comfort people a lot, telling them, look, I know it's scary, but that's because you just don't know about it. So let's educate let me help you educate you so that you can be less fearful of this.
So do you find yourself getting strong emotional connection to the people that you talk with?
I think there's been a few cases like that, but again, you can only get so emotionally attached to somebody when it comes to typing on Facebook. I think if it was a face-to-face situation, it would be much different.
Yeah, there was an article that I read by an anthropologist who has been studying YouTube that was talking about the connections that people make on YouTube. He described them as tight and loose at the same time, so that you seem to know a lot of information about somebody, but at the same time, you make these really tight connections, but they're not. Yeah, they're also loose because you only know what they are willing to share on YouTube. You don't necessarily know anything else. So it was just an interesting description of that.
Right, yeah, and I think that's what I try to avoid is presenting myself as a persona as opposed to a person. I try to, show every aspect of my experience and not be selective so that, I'm selling a persona rather than, a reality.
Yeah. So you're basically trying to connect to other people through your humanness. I don't know if that's a real word.
Yeah, I think for lack of better terms, that's what I'm kind of trying to do. Just trying to be realistic.
Yeah. Right. And you have a lot of information on your blog about how you felt when you were newly diagnosed. But can you just talk about a little bit about it? What was going through your mind?
Well, it was, for me, a very, very quick onset of symptoms. So it kind of came out of nowhere. A lot of people will start noticing problems years before they're ever diagnosed. It happens slowly. They start dealing with vision issues and stuff like that. For me, August 1st was the day that I started noticing a little bit of numbness in my right foot, and by the end of the month I was in a wheelchair. I couldn't walk, I was half blind, I was numb on half my body, the left side of my body was experiencing partial paralysis, and there was a laundry list of other symptoms I was dealing with. So, it was kind of confusing at first because I'm seeing all these different doctors and everybody's got a different idea, oh, sciatica, oh, there's inflammation on this nerve or that nerve or something in your neck. So you don't really know what's going on. And then all of a sudden I see the neurologist who, orders my MRI, and I sit down with her, and very, very plainly, without even looking up from her computer screen, she had told me, yeah, I think we're dealing with MS here. Now, at the time, I didn't know what MS was. I just knew that I always heard that term on House, the TV show on Fox. Always hear that term. So the first thing I thought of was, well, I hear that on House all the time, so it must not be good. So, yeah, it kind of hit me out of nowhere, and I remember that day, even on the way home, it wasn't even emotional because it came out of nowhere. So it's like it didn't really happen. It took a really long time for it to really settle in, and a lot of people deal with a lot of emotional breakdowns, and I can't say that I haven't had my emotional times either, but there never really seemed to be a moment for me where it was like, wow, I have MS. It's been so gradual that the emotional getting used to it and everything. And I think I might have lost track of the initial question.